Welcome back to Inside the Lines, folks. Tonight we start with the action that took place across the Great American Conference this last Saturday. East Central took on Oklahoma Baptist. That game played at Baptist in Shawnee. It was East Central 41-20 against Oklahoma Baptist. East Central, of course, is the team that Northwestern will travel to play this week in Ada. Southwestern Oklahoma State University was in Arkadelphia against Henderson. Southwestern got blanked 33-0 in that one. Henderson on top. Arkansas Monticello went to Searcy, Arkansas to take on the Bison of Harding University. Harding wins that game 47-21. Southern Arkansas played at Arkansas Tech. Arkansas Tech picks up another big win, 44-21 over Southern Ark. Southeastern was in action at Southern Nazarene in Bethany. It was Southeastern 41, Southern Nazarene 7 in that game. And, of course, Northwestern traveled all the way out to Arkadelphia, Arkansas to take on Ouachita Baptist. The Baptist Tigers were better than Northwestern that day, 55-13. Coming up this Saturday, our matchups look like this. Ouachita and Harding will do battle in Arkadelphia. Arkansas Monticello will be on the road against Oklahoma Baptist. Southern Arkansas travels to Southern Nazarene. Southwestern will take on Southeastern. That game to be played in Durant. Arkansas Tech will go to Arkadelphia, Arkansas to play Henderson State, and Northwestern will travel to Ada, Oklahoma to take on the Tigers of East Central University. So for back-to-back weeks, the Rangers will be playing against conference opponents, both of them Tigers this go-round. And both of them pretty stout teams. Again, we're without Jesse tonight. He's on assignment for the station, but we can talk to you momentarily about the Great American Conference offensive and defensive players of the week. This week, co-offensive players for the GAC. It was Arsenio Favor, the Arkansas Tech quarterback out of Montgomery, Alabama. He accounted for 303 total yards and 5 touchdowns in the Wonder Boys' 44-21 win against Southern Ark. He completed 17 of 23 passes and racked up 224 yards, while 4 of his scores came on the ground. He ranks second in the country right now with 10 rushing touchdowns and third with 15 touchdowns accounted for as Tech improved to 4-0 for the first time since 2005. Arkansas Tech on a long and unbeaten streak, and they are certainly playing well and very deserving of the praise they're getting around the conference. The co-offensive player this week was Park Parrish, the quarterback for Harding, somebody that we will see later on this season. In Harding's 41-27 win against Monticello, Parrish became only the 4th Harding player ever to score 4 rushing touchdowns in a single game. He also became the first Harding Bison with 3 or more rushing touchdowns in a game 3 times in one season. Parrish has 11 rushing touchdowns on the season and leads Division II football right now. So 2 of the top 10 quarterbacks in the nation playing in the Great American Conference, at least quarterbacks that rush the ball. Defensive player of the week this week was Gary Vines from Henderson State. Vines became the 3rd defensive player in GAC history to win consecutive Player of the Week awards. He intercepted 2 passes to help lead a defensive unit that gave up just 220 total yards. The GAC Special Team Player of the Week was Houston Ray, the kicker from Henderson State. Ray tied the GAC single-game high with 4 successful field goals in the Reddies' 33-0 win against the Bulldogs. He totaled 15 points for his team in the game. He made field goals from 23, 36, 44, and 34 yards and also converted 3 extra point attempts. He leads the GAC in field goals this season with 6. In the honorable mentions category, Jaron Tudman for the Rangers in his first action this season. Played as a wide receiver in this game. He gained 187 yards on 5 receptions, had a single touchdown that went 75 yards on a first down and 10 play on a pass from Reed Miller. So Rangers making honorable mention in the Great American Conference Players of the Week Award. So it's going to be an interesting week as the conference continues to roll out this season. Right now we'll take a quick look at the standings for the Great American Conference. Those, of course, kind of tell us a little bit more about how these teams are faring. When we'll take a look at those when we return from break. You're listening to Inside the Lines right here on AM 1430 KALV. Welcome back to Inside the Lines, live from Champ Sports and Spirits. I'm Matt Adair, joined in the booth here momentarily by head coach for Ranger football, Coach Matt Walter. Let's take a look at the Great American Conference standings as they stand after last week's play. Arkansas Tech and Harding are atop the standings board. Both of those teams 4-0 on the season and doing very well right now. Next up, it's East Central, Henderson State, and Ouachita. All of those teams with 3-1 records in the Great American Conference. Any of those 3 or the top 2, so the 5 top teams in the GAC Conference could break away from the pack and claim the GAC Conference title this season. All of those teams very competitive. Harding probably has the edge right now. Southeastern Oklahoma State University, Southern Arkansas, and Southwestern come in next. All of those teams with 2-2 records. Northwestern stands alone with a record of 1-3, and then there are 3 teams in conference that have yet to find a win this season. They are Arkansas Monticello at 0-4, Oklahoma Baptist at 0-4, even though they've been in some close ones, and Southern Nazarene at 0-4, still looking for their first ever in-conference win. That rounds out the Great American Conference standings. Now let's talk with the head coach for Ranger football, Coach Matt Walter, about the game that was this weekend. Northwestern traveled to Arkadelphia, Arkansas to take on Ouachita Baptist University, who now sits 3-1 in the conference, against Northwestern, who is now 1-3. The final score in that game was Ouachita Baptist 55, Northwestern 13. Our scoring by quarter looked like this. Ouachita came out to a very hot start, 21 points in the first quarter. Northwestern countered with 7 of their own. Ouachita picked up another touchdown right before halftime. Northwestern scored in the second quarter as well, but missed a point after attempt, and the score at halftime was 28-13. It was all Ouachita in the second half. They scored 17 points in the third and 10 in the fourth to round out their 55-13 victory against the Rangers. Coach Walter, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks again for joining us here on Wednesday night.
Thank you, Matt.
It seemed to be a pretty tough week out in Ouachita. Their fans were out in full force. They had a really nice venue out in front of us, but it was a heck of a game to start things off. This was the first game, and I mentioned this to you off air, where I thought the Rangers played better in the first half than in the second half. And in that first half, even though they jumped out to a 21-point lead, you guys battled back and were in this thing going into the halftime locker room.
Well, yeah, I mean, we started the game with a quick hitter, and we ended up on the 15-yard line, going in to score with first down, and we throw a little corner route to Jarian Tubman, who had just took the ball all the way down to the 15 and is wide open, doesn't see the ball thrown. If he sees the ball, we hopefully, if he catches it, we score right there. But then on second down, third down, we didn't complete. We had 2 incompletions, and then we missed a field goal. So start out like we wanted, start out fast, and first time we got the ball first on offense, and did exactly what we wanted to do the first couple plays, and have exactly the coverage we want on the first down play to score, and we don't execute it correctly, and kind of went downhill from there really quick, and they scored 3 real quick after we missed that field goal. And then we came back with another quick one-play touchdown, and then we had a long drive and scored again, and it was 21-13, and our kids were battling pretty good. And then we let one go in the end of the second quarter, towards the end of the second quarter, to make it 28-13, I believe. Then we had a 2-minute drill going, and we're driving, and then we throw an interception. They return it all the way back down to the 8-yard line, and our defense does a great stand. And it's 28-13 going to locker room. We have some momentum, but it just never carried over. The second half was we executed really poorly, and when we do things right, we look really good. And when we execute things incorrectly and we don't execute, we look poor. We look really poor. So our key is doing what our assignments are, and not having mental bus.
Coach, you talked about it that very first series of the game. You guys have pass play out to the far side from our broadcast position, would have been the near side going to you. Little pass out in the flat to Jarian Tubman, who takes it 51 yards all the way down to the 15. First time that we've seen him in action this season, and what an explosive player he is. He announced his presence with authority, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He brings a great element of speed and elusiveness to our offense that we're going to be able to use him in a multitude of ways, which we will. And right now we're just trying to schematically create so we can have opportunity to score, because right now we're down a little bit as far as physically compared to some of the other teams. So we got to do it in other ways.
Coach, you guys really only give up one big play in the game, a Chris Oliver 59-yard run for a touchdown there in the third. But the defense this week had some problems kind of matching up, trying to get a pulse on what Ouachita was doing. A running quarterback who really did a good job, I thought, Austin Warford, for them on extending plays with his legs. Several times you guys had him bottled up in the backfield, dead to rights, and just athletically, his athleticism, he managed to get away from it and turn nothing into actually pretty good somethings. Did you see some of that?
Oh, yeah. We didn't tackle well. Again, we didn't execute. We didn't execute on defense either. We missed a bunch of tackles, whereas the week before we were aces tackling the ball carrier, and I attribute a lot of that to him, yes, but at the same time we didn't finish and execute defensively the game plan like we had hoped to.
Really the first time this season also that your defense didn't force a turnover that led to points. Certainly an element that you guys were used to having.
Oh yeah, and we're built upon that. We're built upon getting turnovers, getting the ball back, and we've been doing a great job of that. And in that game, they protected the football really well. They didn't throw it a whole lot, They're pretty, when they did do it, they were successful. But they are a running team. We knew that going in, and we had our run fits well. We just, again, didn't execute the game plan like we had hoped.
They ran the ball 53 times in the game, threw it 22. Reed Miller and crew ran the ball 29 times. You guys did, threw it 36. A little bit more of a balanced approach from you guys this time on the run pass. Were just seeing things in the run game that looked enticing?
No, just trying to help him out a little bit. I believe his stats were 24 out of 33 or something were his stats, somewhere around there. Anyway, it was 60. He had 67% completions, and a lot of that running the ball helps, regardless of whether you're successful at it or not, which we were not successful running the ball, in my opinion. And we got to find something that we do well within the run game to soften up the defense. And, by doing it and forcing yourself to do it, at least you can keep them honest to a degree. We had a couple plays in there that were all right running the ball. So you got to keep them honest at some point to help your quarterback out, because you just can't put all that pressure on him.
Well, and if I remember correctly, I may miss this, it seemed like the play that Jaron Tudman had where he went 75 yards for a touchdown, virtually untouched on a pass from Reed Miller, just another pass out into the flat, and then Jaron does what he does. It seemed like you guys might have started that with a little bit of play action. I don't know that that's the case.
Yeah, it was started out as just a zone read play, and they didn't cover him, and he's wide open down the sideline.
And man, he was too, and then torched their defensive secondary. Two guys had angles on him, and he destroyed it.
He's fast.
Yeah, he can move. Just 10 rushing yards for the Rangers on 29 rushing attempts, 356 rushing yards for Oklahoma Baptist. But again, this is a team that really is at the top of the league as far as rushing goes. The Rangers pick up 281 yards through the air, limit the Bison to just 210. Reed Miller was 22 of 32 for the game with one pick, but had two touchdowns. His long was a 75-yarder. We gave up 4 sacks this week, Coach. Is that on par for where you'd like to be, or is that too many?
That's too many. 2 of them are running backs' faults. So, which is frustrating to me because they weren't executing the plays correctly. The two plays that were sacks on the running back were add-on sacks. The running backs were supposed to be out in a route, and they stayed in for some odd reason. And so the guy that had them man rushed the quarterback, and we had nobody blocking him. And they ended up making the play on Reed, I believe, on both times. And so our O-line gave up 2, and our running backs gave up 2. You want our goal is 1 every 22 pass attempts. So, in a
40-attempt game, it should be maybe 2 sacks.
Yeah, 1.8 or something like that. Yeah.
Coach, one of the other things that I noticed in this game, a couple of different times, we had the training staff out on the field, a couple of guys down, but everybody seemed to get up and come off under their own power. Any injuries that we're unaware of coming from the end of this week?
Nope. We got a twisted ankle, and that's it. So we've been pretty healthy, knock on wood, so the last 2 weeks. So, hopefully we'll continue that trend.
Again, Reed Miller shows his ability to spread the ball around, hit 9 different receivers in that game. Jaron Tudman had 5 catches, 187 yards, and a touchdown. Sean Bacher had 4 catches for 48. Horatio Smith had 4 grabs. Riley Hess had 4 catches in the game. Charles Davis had 3. Arte Mura had 2 catches, and then Janari Glover and Zach Doyle both had a catch apiece. So again, the offense does its job spreading the ball around, hitting 9 receivers, which is about Reed's average this go-round. He really doesn't have a favorite. He can move the ball around, find the open guy, it seems like.
Sure. We that's what it's predicated on. Of course, again, it all works together, and we got to be able to run the ball better and get out of 3rd and 11 every time. That makes third downs hard to convert.
That was one of the things I was going to talk to you about. 5 of 15 on third downs this go-round, so just 1 out of every 3, basically. But a lot of that, I think, came from the fact that so many, especially in the second half, the third downs you faced were 3rd and long, and probably 20-25% of them were 3rd down and behind the chains.
Yeah, too many negative plays. We look at that. That's a big thing. We had 65 total plays. 17 of them were 0 or negative plays, and that's not good. We had, I believe we had 7 negative plays, and that's, again, you want 0. Our goal every game is have 0 negative plays. Negative rushes include sacks. We had a couple pass plays that were negative yards, which is unbelievable to me. I mean, a lot of them were, again, execution errors, whether it's in the perimeter blocking of the receivers or, the running back's not hitting the hole correctly or, too much penetration in the backfield through the O-line. I mean, things that we can't allow to happen.
We did have one pass play, and I don't want to pick on anybody individually. I won't throw any names out there. But we were 3rd down and 7, I believe. Receiver ran just a little bit of a hook route, caught the ball about 4 yards beyond the line of scrimmage and got taken down there. Typically on 3rd down and 7, the general rule of thumb for, fans and radio guys is that all the routes run to at least the first down marker, especially on just a little out hook. Was that something that you saw too?
Yeah, we have route depths on every route, so it's up to me to call the correct route based on down and distance. So I don't have basically stick calls where they just run whatever it is to the sticks. We don't do that. So it's on me to call the right route to the right depth versus whatever coverage that they've shown. Well, I did that, and it was 3rd and 5 on the one, and it's supposed to be a 6-yard hitch route, and he ran it at 3.5. Caught it at 3.5 and was down at 3.5, and not what we want.
Well, and some of those
that's
negative
again
pass
execution.
Plays, probably the same type of thing.
Yeah, I mean that's a positive pass play, but it's a negative play,
right?
Because it wasn't executed correctly, and those are things that are frustrating. And again, with a young team and a young, very new and learning the offense, it's not necessarily a complicated system, but it's very intricate in the route running. And if you don't run the routes right, you can a lot of times hurt yourself.
Coach, one of the things that we've talked about, been a key the last couple of weeks, you've talked a lot about drops. Did you see the drops improve this game, or were there too many again?
Yeah, we had 0.
See, I didn't remember a drop.
Yeah, well, we had 1 from a tailback, but I mean, we had 0 from, and it was very late in the game, so it wasn't really a factor, but we had 0 from receivers, and what's funny about this team is they're really good if we focus on something all week, improving that. Okay, well,
they forget something else.
Yeah, they don't carry it over to the next week yet, and that's all a maturation process. So we're still in the process of learning and discovering as a team how to do all the time. And that is, again, something that, is a point of emphasis for us, is carrying over what you learn week to week and not having to, you only have so much time with them each week. If you want to focus on every single thing all the time, it's very difficult to do. And again, our focal point last week was no drops. Well, we had no drops. Well, then the week before it was tackling. Well, then we couldn't tackle. So it was, it's one of those things like, come on, what does this team got to do to continue to grow? And that's, again, part of the maturation process, and they got to learn how to win and how to sustain. And that's what we're continually focusing on and continuing to learn throughout this process, is to get them to learn how to win and work at a consistent basis all the time.
Well, and on a heavy pass predicated offense, you guys have a very young receiving corps. I mean, really, Justin Schonbacher is the senior captain out there for receivers. Everybody else is a sophomore, couple of transfer guys, I think one that might be a junior, but it's a young corps.
Yeah.
And even the ones that are a little older are seeing their first real action.
Right.
And are you seeing them as a young group? Are they behaving that way?
Yes, very much. I mean, Justin's obviously steady Eddie and does a great job. But other than that, it's all of them are they do one thing right, and then it's two steps forward, one step back all the time, and they'll get there. They'll get there, and they're getting great, valuable experience right now for the future, and that's our goal. And they're continuing to improve on things that they need to improve on in our passing game, and in our there's a lot of blocking they got to do that they're getting much better at. Our blocking on the perimeter was a lot better this week than it's been, or this past game than it's been this whole season. So again, they're it's like you got to take one thing at a time and take that baby step every go, every week, and they're doing a great job of that. And they got a lot to learn. Playing receiver in this offense is probably just as hard as playing quarterback.
I can imagine.
It's very close.
Lot to know from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Coach, one last area I want to touch on, penalties. You guys had 7 of them in this game, but really no big frustration penalties, no terrible penalties. I was pretty impressed overall with you guys playing without the flags. What was your take? Yeah,
we had one stupid penalty on Kervin Brown, and he knows it, and he got punished for it after the play was over, penalty, and we can't have those. Other than that, I thought it was a very clean game on both sides. I was happy with how it was officiated. I think the officials did a great job.
Got a little chippy there for just a bit. There was a play where Reed ran the ball forward, kind of through the middle of their defense, picked up a handful of yards, and then on the ground had his helmet torn off in the pile, and there was some pushing and shoving. But beyond that, the referee seemed to get it back in control.
Yeah, I think it was just, it's one of those things where anytime it's a quarterback, if that's a running back, nobody thinks anything of it. When it's a quarterback, your old lineman, you want to see them stand up for him, and they're trying to get people away from him, and that's kind of what you want to see. So I don't think there was anything there, much ado about nothing on that play. But other than that, I thought, like I said, I think it was a very clean game.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time. We're going to give you a break here for a second, bring you back in 4th down when we talk about East Central and the trip to Ada. We're going to take a quick break and be back to talk some Ranger football recruiting. You're listening to Inside the Lines right here on AM 1430 KALV. Welcome back to Inside the Lines. We're live from Champ Sports and Spirits right here in Alva, Oklahoma. The 3rd down segment this week is where we have made it to. We're going to be joined in the booth by Ben McCaig, the offensive line coach for the Rangers. This is his first season of Ranger football. Comes to us from, and if you can believe this, Emporia State. Yeah. Had a few of you guys from out that direction, I hear.
Oh, yeah.
Ben, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, let's talk first about your duties. You came in and you coached the offensive line, kind of first run with these guys. Tell us a little bit about your background with Coach Walter.
Well, Coach Walter joined the Emporia State staff while I was already playing there, and I think he took over coaching the offensive line my junior year, and so I got to know him really well, obviously through strength and conditioning, and then when he took over as offensive line coach, I worked with him for 2 years, and then after my senior season, I did kind of a coaching internship with him, working with the offensive line there at Emporia, and then throughout the years we just kept in touch. I always valued what he brought and taught me and things like that, so I just kind of followed along with him, and when he had an opening and I was available, he gave me a call, and it worked out well. So,
well, fantastic. We're glad to have you in town. We do this with all of our newcomers, so don't be bashful about this. Everybody wants to know, usually when we get people in from out of town, especially people who have been associated with the program, the height of what Emporia's program is very first impression. What do you think of the facilities out here? That's a big improvement for us, something new over the last few years. Were you impressed to see that out this way?
Absolutely. I mean, the facilities here are phenomenal, with the new stadium and the brand new turf. The press box, they're top notch. I can't think of something that we would want more than those nice facilities in order to recruit and to show off and make our players proud of. And coming from a place like Emporia, they stack up and are better in a lot of areas. So definitely something that everyone that's a part of the Northwestern community should be proud of. And I enjoy going to work every day. We have nice stuff. So
fantastic. Yeah. We're glad to hear that. Secondly, just the eyeball test, you do not look like a guy that is an offensive line coach. Typically, those guys look a little bit more like me, don't get in front of them before the buffet. You, on the other hand, really tall, look to be in pretty good shape. Were you an offensive lineman? Where'd you play when you played football?
I was an offensive lineman. That was a couple pounds ago.
I can imagine.
I bulked up to go play there, and that was a big goal of mine after I got done playing, was to lose some of that weight. But it was a little bit of work, but once you get it off, it stays off for a little. I'm trying to keep it off as long as I can, so that's
fantastic.
Yeah.
And now, Coach, I guess the reason that we got you here tonight, the reason that we wanted to bring you down, is you also handle the recruitment coordinating for this club. So talk to us a little bit about your philosophy as far as going after players. Is this a thing where you and Coach Walter, I would imagine you guys have a good relationship already, but are probably in close contact? I mean, is he giving you orders on, hey, I need 3 offensive linemen, 6'5", 330, 2 linebackers, a halfback, or is this more of a philosophy of what's available, who can we go get, what are we seeing out there?
Well, absolutely. We have benchmarks for all the players that we're looking for, in terms of athleticism and size and things like that. And we have the size of class and the number of guys that we need to bring in. But we're out there looking for talent. We're going to hit the state of Oklahoma really, really hard. We're sending coaches out to almost every high school in the state, and especially those ones that we know are winning football games, because that's one major emphasis for us this year, is going out and finding players that know how to win and that have been a part of winning programs, and just bringing some of their culture to us, because that's something that we're trying to reestablish here. And obviously, people around here have seen it as a winning program, but some of the guys that are in our program currently have never experienced that. So we want to go find guys that are winners, and then obviously that meet the athletic and physical needs of playing high-level Division II football. And that's what we're searching for right now. So.
Being the recruitment coordinator, that title is probably as accurate as it can be as far as coaching goes, because recruiting doesn't fall solely on you. I mean, you've got an entire staff of coaches that are going to be hitting the road, but really you oversee, kind of mainstream the entire effort. And with the connections that you guys have, I know that Coach Walter's got connections all over the country. Most of the coaches that I've met on this roster so far come from places where they've got good ties and know people. So you've got feels like a bevy of resources out there. What do you do to as far as just managing that? Is it a lot of phone calls, a lot of just trying to keep up with guys?
Yeah, a lot of it is reaching out and keeping those contacts in touch with us, maintaining those relationships that we already have. And we send our guys out to places that they're familiar with, that they already have ties in and things like that. So we're not going to waste a coach when he already has a strong recruiting tie and an ability to go into a place and get a realistic opinion on players, or even players in the surrounding area that a coach may help us out with. So yeah, I coordinate all that, tell them where they're going and what their budget is and things like that. And we trust those guys to go out and get us good football players. We have a really good group of guys kind of on our radar right now. We have some home game visits coming up. So we're looking to have great crowds, especially for our homecoming against Southeastern, and then the last home game against Southwestern. We're having 2 recruiting days, and we have some really, really good players signed up. So that's an exciting thing when you see the future of your program coming together. And some of those guys that are visiting on those days are going to be Rangers in the future. So we're excited about that.
Well, and for you guys, the work just never stops. I mean, it's not like you get to a point and it's like, okay, now I've got to focus on the season. Recruiting is a 24/7 undertaking. The NCAA has some dead periods, but they're pretty limited. I mean, it's not that you're just focusing on coaching the O-line right now. You're focused on coaching the O-line, but also trying to make sure that you're, like you said, bringing guys in, showing off the facilities, getting as many meet and greets as possible, right?
Right. We encourage the guys when they need a break from the football stuff, right? You've been watching film for hours and your eyes start to hurt and things like that. We encourage them to go make a couple recruiting calls or write a couple letters or send off an email or something like that. And it's a good break in the day, but yeah, it is 24/7. It's constant, and the good thing about nowadays is kids are reaching out to us a lot with Huddle and things like that. Their highlights are online, and it's so easy to access, and it gives us a broader area that we can recruit, and it helps us out a lot. And our guys work. They really do. Our coaching staff is working hard, that's for sure.
And that's a good thing. And when you talk about being able to broaden the area with a minimal amount of effort, like you said, being able to see things kind of online and stuff now, that's always a good thing, especially at a school like Northwestern. I'm sure that you guys have what you need, but when it comes to recruiting, funding is always kind of a key issue. You've really got to be in a battle for every dollar, so you want to make sure that you're investing it the best way possible. I know that there's tens of thousands of people listening to us on the radio right now, but anybody that would like to donate for recruiting, you guys would more than happily accept. But I'm sure that keeping an eye on that budget too is another piece of your duty, and making sure that you're spending money in the right places and trying to get the best results possible from that.
Oh yeah, we're thrifty out there, but that's part of the business, And if we had millions and millions of dollars, we'd be spending millions and millions of dollars. That's what all those big Alabama, those programs are doing. But we do it on a slightly smaller budget. But we just got to be smart about it, and that's we make our key areas where we're going to go, and make day trips in Oklahoma, and we cover a pretty broad base doing that. So,
well, Coach, I know that I'm excited to have you on staff. I think that as people get to meet you in the community, they're really going to find a real appeal to you. You're a great talker, great interview. We're excited to have you recruiting, and I know I've already been contacted by a handful of some of my old college buddies that are in the coaching world now in and around Oklahoma that say that there's been a renewed interest from Ranger football, something that they haven't seen in quite a while. So I think you guys are doing a great job so far.
We're looking to get the name out there, so that's good to hear.
All right. Well, hey, we appreciate it, Coach McCabe. Thank you, and best of luck this Saturday.
All right. Thank you.
All right. That'll do it for Third Down. Coming up, it's Fourth Down. We'll talk about the East Central Tigers. You're listening to Inside the Lines right here on AM 1430 KALV. Welcome back to Inside the Lines. Matt Adair alongside the head coach for Ranger football, Coach Matt Walter, as we take a look forward at the game this Saturday evening in Ada, Oklahoma, as the Rangers make the long Oklahoma road trip for the first time this season to battle in-conference foe, the East Central University Tigers, who right now have a record of 3-1 in the Great American Conference and seem to have the wheels on the wagon as far as things go in competition. Coach Walter, when you look at East Central, another run-first type of team, it would appear from their stats. What do you see?
A big physical team that wants to establish a run, and they do what they do well. There's no, they're kind of right at you. There's no smoke and mirrors to what they do.
Having just played Ouachita Baptist, who also likes to run, is a kind of a physical team, will come at you a little bit. Is there a lot of similarities, or would you say a lot of difference between what you had this week and what you've got this Saturday?
They're different. They throw the ball. They're more balanced. They throw the ball more. They got a really good receiver, and their quarterback has played really well. He's had some big games himself. They got a freshman tailback, Trayvon Jackson, who incidentally I had recruited really hard. Ended up going there. Had some Division I type offers that is playing as a true freshman and playing well. So they got two big offensive tackles that are some NFL teams are looking at. Anyway, they present a lot of challenges for any team.
In addition to being one of the most potent offenses in the Great American Conference this season, I think they average something like 200 yards a game on the ground, 300 yards a game through the air. Mm-hmm. But their primary attack is going to be, you're going to probably see more rushes than passes typically.
Right.
But in addition to that, they're very sound defensively too, only giving up 19 points a game. They've been beaten one time this season, but at this point, 2 games later, that almost looks to be an anomaly.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what they, like I said, they present a lot of challenges, and we're going to, kind of play it as it comes, and I think they'll run against us. Just given what we've done through the past game, and I'm not saying we shut anybody down through the past game because Southern Arkansas did a great job, but we had the ability to make plays in the secondary, and we've done that. We made a lot of plays in the secondary, and I just think that given what they saw last week, they're going to try to attack us on the ground, and I would too. Other
than some broken coverages, there was one game, I think Southern Arkansas, we had a miscommunication in the defensive secondary. They hit us for a pass for a long touchdown. Really haven't given up a big part of the game through the air. Your pass defense certainly looks to be pretty stout. Right, and like I said, we've had quite a few interceptions and doing a great job in that area, so given what we've kind of struggled with, I believe that's what they'll be doing. All right, so let's talk about this for the Rangers. It's been a struggle a little bit to get the run game established. The last couple of games have dragged our average down from Monticello, where we had a decent day running the football. Right now, I think you guys average, and just because of the way those numbers work, about 28 yards a game. If you're the opposing defense, are you going to key on the idea that we won't run the ball well, or do you stuff the box and try and completely shut that one faucet of the game down? Well, so far, we've seen both. Ouachita didn't pack the box really. They played some coverage, and we still exposed some things in the past game. So I think that this team, they're primarily a zone team. I think they'll play coverage. They're not a big blitz team. So I think ECU will play coverage and rely on their linebackers and
D-line to shut down the run, and they're going to do what they do. They're not going to change anything they're doing for us. And they should. They've been pretty successful doing what they're doing, and I don't suspect them just doing an overhaul in what they've done defensively for us.
Now, as far as size goes, these guys are pretty big. O-line looks to be pretty good size. Defense, they look to be pretty big across the board.
Right, and like I told another group that I'd spoke to, we're three summers difference between our lines, basically 3 summers and 3 recruiting cycles difference, and that's part of it. That's part of the process, and we're gonna try to expose them in ways we can. But yeah, they're a very big, physical looking team, and they play physical too.
So, Coach, if you were going to break it down for us like this, of course, you always tell us that one of the biggest keys to any game is just executing properly. But when you look at them and you start to pull out your game plan, not that we want to get too in-depth into that, but what are the keys to success offensively for the Rangers against a big team like this?
Eliminate negative plays. Keep us out of 3rd and long. We got to eliminate negative plays. And, of course, protect the football. And then defensively, we got to eliminate big plays and get off the field on 3rd down. And, match intensity. I've been talking to our team all week about matching intensity. Play for play. Each play's a win or loss. And we got to win more plays than we lose. And we got to take it play by play. We don't take it game by game. At this point where we're at, we got to take everything play by play. Win the play. Win the next play. Win the next play. Hopefully at the end of the game you win more plays than you lose, and you come out on top. And that's our key to what we're doing right now.
Coach, we've now been on the road a couple of times, been home a couple of times. Does this team seem to have a preference? Do they mind the travel, or are they more of a home team?
I think they take everything in stride, and I haven't seen that. That's not our problem at all. I think they handle the travel well. They handle home well. Distractions haven't been an issue. Again, our issues, I think, maybe the Southern Art game, I think we might have been too excited and come out with too much hype, so to speak. I always talk to our guys about never getting too high, never getting too low, and kind of keeping even keel. And it's hard for young kids to do that sometimes. And I remember when I was that age, the excitement of playing at home and playing in front of people, and pushing too hard, if that makes sense, and trying to do too much and not do your job. And when you try to do that, you get in trouble. And maybe that first game, I think we did that. I don't think we've done that any of the other 3 games. It's been pretty even keel, and you got to stay that way. At the end of the game, you can celebrate if you win. You don't need to be too amped up during the game.
Coach, so far, Arkansas, Monticello, Southern Arkansas, Henderson State, now Ouachita Baptist. You've seen all those teams. You've played all those teams. Just looking at East Central on film, and I know it's difficult to tell on tape, but is this the best team we've played so far this season?
I'll have to determine that when we play the game. That's
right.
That's hard to do. That's hard to do. Southern Arkansas was so different than Ouachita Baptist and Henderson both. They're all 3 totally different teams. It would be hard to say, who's better than who. And then there's the matchups. Some teams will play a lot better against one team than the next. We might play a lot better against somebody than somebody else. Perfect example is Southwestern played really well against Ouachita Baptist. All right, then they, basically got dismantled by Henderson.
Yeah, got blanked, 33-0.
And we matched up a lot better with Henderson than they did, and they obviously matched up better with Ouachita than we did. So you can't tell by basically just film and who they've played. You got to play the game. And and for me, I don't look at scores, because for us, I could have run the ball the entire 4th quarter and gotten out of that game, at 41, probably 41-13. I really could have. But for us, that's not what I do. We're trying to score. Our kids always got to believe we're trying to score and trying to stay in the game, and not trying to just play the clock game just to say we played closer than someone else, and we don't, I'm not about that. I'm about trying to improve every play and work on our stuff for the next week, because you never know where a situation in the game is going to help you later on down the road. And that's what we're trying to do during games. And so, like I said, we don't look at the scoreboard to the scores of other games to see how we watch the film and we analyze the film, and then of course in the game you're gonna determine who's a tougher opponent and who matches up better with you than someone else. So.
Cool. Coach, I think you probably hit the nail on the head in that, and I can appreciate your candor in being able to talk with us about some of these things. I'm going to pass along a compliment that was paid to you this week during the game. We interviewed Athletic Director Andy Carter during our halftime interview, and Coach Carter was saying that he had a chance to talk to Ouachita Baptist and some of those guys down there on the sidelines, met with their head coach for a while and their athletic director, and he actually said this on the air, so I'm not breaking any confidentialities here. He said, when we look at our programs here at Northwestern, we always want to go out and hire the best. And he said, for the first time in my career as an athletic director, I had a head coach for another team and an athletic director tell me that when we announced Matt Walter as our hire, they both said, man, we wish you hadn't hired that guy. And he said, when we can hire somebody that the rest of the conference says, guy, I hate to see them get a guy like that, he said, I know we're doing our job. So, Coach, I think the conference respects what you're doing so far, and certainly a lot of exciting Ranger football to look at moving forward, starting with this Saturday.
Well, I appreciate it, and I was very nice to them to say, and I got nothing but respect for Coach over there. He does a great job, and man, they're class acts, so appreciate that.
Well, Coach, moving forward, you mentioned that there were no injuries. Special teams again looked to be pretty decent this last game. We didn't give up much. The missed field goal hurt. The point after attempt, we missed a point after. An odd snap. It looked like it got to Schonbacher and was laying maybe sideways when it was kicked.
Well, it actually hit the ground right at the catch point. It was a low snap, and when Justin tried to get it up, you're on grass there, so the grass kind of slides. It doesn't stick like turf. It's a little different, and it slid instead of stick. And he kicked it sideways, or the ball was sideways.
Yeah, it looked funny coming off.
Yeah, it was weird.
Hit the upright.
Yeah.
As far as punting goes, though, right now Will Hawkins leads the conference among punters on yards per punt average. Right now he's over 45, like 45.8.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous job you guys are doing flipping the field on people when you're faced with a fourth down. He's
done a great job punting the ball. We had the one return that we knew the returner was dangerous, and he did miss one punt. It was a good punt, but it gave him a lot of room to run. But other than that, the breakdowns on special teams were none. Even the missed field goal, there wasn't a breakdown in anything. It was just a miss. And then, like I said, the one punt. If we're going to be sticklers about it, the one punt was punted to the center of the field, not to the right, which is the direction we were supposed to kick it. And they gave him some running lanes, and he was dangerous. He's a very good returner. And other than that, we've been pretty solid on special teams. Proud of those guys, and they take the players take that as a challenge, and they do a great job with it. Whereas some, I've been in situations where they hated special teams and they didn't do a good job. So that's a big focal point on ours, and that is truly where I think you turn around a program is you can really start it with your special teams and defense, and that's what we're trying to do. And I think if special teams is a highlight for our team, we've done a good job there.
Coach, I know your record isn't something that you would want it to be right now, but just in your overall opinion of this team and your time here, are you and the team progressing at the rate that you would like? Are you seeing the positives start to come out, or are you just still right now trying to counter some of the, like you said, week to week, the little things that go wrong?
Of course, we can pick out things that are very positive that we're doing, and the players do believe in what we're doing, and that's a big thing. And we do have a plan, and we're going to stick to it, and we're not going to deviate from it because it works. And are we where we want to be? No, we're not going to be, and we're not going to be for a while, and we know that. So if you know that realistically going in, you can attack each and every day the improvement that you need to see, and that's what we do. And we are improving at things, but it needs to be a week to week, and there's got to be more carryover. That's what I'd like to see, more carryover and the improvements that we improve on week to week.
Now, not to detract from anything, but knowing that it's going to be a long process and it's a building process doesn't lower the expectation, though, does it?
Oh, heck no, and that's okay. That's okay, and like I said, we're not near where we want to be, but we still have a lot of goals that we could achieve this year that we want, and we're looking forward to, hopefully achieving those.
All right, Coach. Well, another game, another road trip. We will see you guys in Ada, Oklahoma. The Rangers kick off at 6 p.m. from Ada. That means the broadcast for you guys will start at 5 o'clock, and we hope to have all of you joining us either on the radio or in person. Coach, best of luck this weekend.
Thank you very much.
That was head coach for Ranger football, Coach Matt Walter, and that'll do it for this week's edition of Inside the Lines. I'm Matt Adair for Michael Collins back in studio, Jesse Klein, who's on assignment, and all the rest of you who make this show possible. We thank you for listening and say good night, Ranger Nation.